Let's talk about types of light. We have two different types of light, natural light and artificial light. Natural light is going to be, sun, moon, fire, candlelight. And the artificial light is going to be anything else. So LEDs, halogens, fluorescent, incandescent, xenon lights, and so on and so forth. So let's talk about them. First of all, sunlight. This is the coolest type of light out there because it comes in different variations and flavors. One of them is going to be, direct sunlight, which is on a sunny day, like you can see here. And if it's properly angled, sunrise, sunset, it's beautiful because it pops all the textures, the quality is amazing, everything looks crisp, there are very nice, crisp shadows, but it's a very strong and hard light. But sun can be diffused, going through clouds, and then you're gonna have, for example, a diffused sunlight, which could be either warmish or really, really, really cold. Now, light in general is measured in kelvins, and the lower the temperature of the light, so the lower the Kelvin number, the warmer the light's kind of counterintuitive. Now, if you look at this table here, you can clearly see which type of light has what temperature. So again, the candlelight is going to be the warmest one, and the shade of heavily overcast sky is going to be the last one. Now, LED lights, which are very popular these days, replacing halogen lights, which which consume a lot of energy and are not that efficient. LED lights are very popular now. They use everywhere, including cars, etc. They have quite a range of temperature from like 2000 to 6000, even higher. Okay, so you can do almost anything with them you want. Fluorescent lights are a bit more confined, about between 4000 to 5000, although you can find different temperatures as well. But I don't really like fluorescent lights. They're very tiring for the eyes. They're not really, kind to your eyes. They kind of, muddy, I never liked fluorescent lights. Then you have tungsten lights, which are quite warm. It's about 3000, 3500 kelvins. And they produce a really nice warm ambient light if you are using them in the interior, because ambient light can be natural or artificial. It depends how it's used. Ambient light outside is going to be sunlight, moonlight, etc., fire. But indoors, when the light doesn't come in, any stable light, any constant light is going to be considered ambient light. And if you add to it something else like a strobe or a flash, that's considered artificial light. Okay, so tungsten light could be used for very interesting images, very moody ones, That's a cool light, okay? Then you got halogen lights and you got xenon lights. So halogen lights are being now replaced with LEDs, etc. Xenon lights are really powerful. They come in different colors between 5000, so like a daylight color, to 10,000, which is a really blue and, kind of a cold one. But they're extremely powerful and they use mostly in very strong lights like car lights, etc. Okay. Now you can mix lights like here, for example, where I drop the strength of the HDRI to 0.1 and then I mixed it with a spotlight. Right. Now the HDRI here, you can clearly see that's an overcast, which means it's going to be quite blue, because if you look again on the scale here, you can see that, shade or heavily overcast sky, that's really blue. That's 9 to 10K. And this one, this light here, it's quite warm. So you're creating a fantastic focus, kind of like a focal spot here, because our eye is going to be drawn immediately to warm areas. So you could mix lights in a very interesting way and direct people to look in specific places in your image. You could mix lights in the same temperature. It's not a problem. I could change it easily to, let's say, to a different temperature. And in Cycles, you can do it with great precision because you can use nodes here. And you can click on the color and change it to black body. And then you can change the temperature here to something colder, like for example, 8000, and the light will match the color. Now you of course need to reduce this one to 0, and then you're gonna have a bluish lighting falling here on your canvas, so it will kind of match with whatever happens in the sky. Now another thing that you can do in Blender is you can use real life light maps, baked maps of real lights, and bring them to Blender. Because let me show you, if I'm going to add a regular light here, like a point light, and I'm going to bring it, somewhere here, Blender lights, they look very weird, okay? They're very unrealistic because, light doesn't behave like this in real life, okay? They have a different fall off, they have different patterns. There's no such thing as a perfect, kind of a spot of light, you know, and it just shines very evenly around its diameter. Light doesn't behave like this in real light. So what you can do is, again, click here, use nodes, and you can go here to strength, and you can load in the IES map. Now, IES textures, there are textures which you can get for free online, and these are textures provided by manufacturers of light, okay? So the manufacturers of light, they're gonna basically upload them to internet, and you can use them and, you know, 3D programs, and you can load in a realistic light into your scene. So instead of using this Blender suggested light, go to external, click on this folder, go to your IES textures, and then you can, you know, choose all kinds of different lights, whatever, it depends what kind of textures you're gonna download, right? We could change it to, for example, a spotlight warm. So accept it, and boom, you see what I mean? That is actually how a spotlight would behave on a wall. That is a realistic light. And you can use them in your designs, in your architecture, in your interior shots, whatever you want, because that looks literally like a light, you know, out there in a real world. So instead of using, you know, Blender default lights, you can just scout internet for IES textures and get some textures that you like, and you will be, you know, interested using them in your projects, and use these. Now you can add custom color to them as well. Go here and add a black body, and you can actually, you know, load in a very specific temperature for your light. So let's say we wanted to create spotlights that have about 5000 Kelvin temperature, which is more or less temperature of a flashlight, you know, from photography, or flash gun, or strobe, or sunlight, and, you know, and you're gonna have a very natural looking light in your environment, okay? So this is how you can actually bring, you know, the ideas of lights from real life into Blender using IES textures and this black body node to create some fantastic lights in your, you know, in Blender. Now this will not work in Eevee. This works only in cycles. If I switch here to Eevee, you will see that this will disappear because Eevee doesn't have this, you know, option here for lights. This works only in cycles. And that's because, you know, Eevee is just an engine of fakery, you know, everything is faked over there. You need to create reflections and bounces and everything like that, you know, artificially in Blender, whereas cycles is an actually, you know, way more realistic in terms of a render engine.